All right, I'm here. Wow, my hair's crazy. I did not even look at myself before I went live. This is going to be fun. No, it's going to be horrible again. We're looking at another insane night tonight, though I'm going to say I'm very curious. If it hasn't already happened. I mean, how long has this been going on for? So I already missed Rand Paul. Let's go to whoever the hell this is.
Good evening. My name is Jason Joyce, and I'm an 8th generation lobster fisherman from Swans Island, Maine.
The audio low.
I make my living from lobster fishing, oyster farming, and providing eco tours in the beautiful waters near Acadia National Park, where I have over 200 years of family history. I have to confess, I didn't support Trump in 2016. Skeptical that he shared my conservative views, I expected him to flip-flop on his campaign promises. But he has followed through on his promises, including last week when he brokered a deal to end European Union tariffs of 8% on Maine live lobsters and up to 20% on Maine lobster products, which is great news for Maine's lobstermen and women. I live on an island with 370 residents, and lobstering is how we provide for our families. Maine's lobstermen are true environmentalists. We practice conservation every day.
Am I going to drink on the stream? No. Not tonight. I have like 4 beers left. I'm going to save them. Though, who knows? Who knows what will happen during this stream? So, I don't know. But as I was saying, before I was cut off by Lobster Man, I'm looking forward to, or I shouldn't say I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious what Melania Trump's going to say, and I'm curious especially what Tiffany is going to say. She's going to be here. No idea what to expect. Though I guess she was there in 2016. She talked about, I think, Trump. I don't know, Trump being a dad or something. That was her focus last time. I assume it's going to be the same this time. But, all right, back to Lobster Boy.
He's fearless in fixing it. He listens to working people. He nominates judges who respect the Constitution and the right to life. He keeps his word, like eliminating the European tariffs and moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. I hope you will join me this time in voting for President Trump. Stand up for your country. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Peterson. My husband Gary, our family, and I milk 1,000 cows on a dairy farm in Grantsburg, Wisconsin, a small middle American town. Truth be told, until I married my cute farmer from Grantsburg a long time ago, I was a city slicker from Minneapolis, which is about 70 miles south of us. Donald Trump became president in the middle of the Great Depression for dairy farmers in Wisconsin. In 2016, prices were horrible, and longtime generational farms across the nation were going out of business. In 2017, our 120-year-old barn, which served as our milking center, caught fire and burned to the ground. Our cows were spared, but because they needed to be milked 3 times a day, farmers, friends, and...
How much of this do I actually have to listen to? Can I just talk most of the time and you don't care? Or will you all care? Mikey Kingston says, Baba Booey, get yourself a beer, my dude. Let me see how this night goes.
Trump's economic boom began helping dairy farmers across the nation. As a businessman, President Trump understands that farming is a complicated, capital-intensive, and risky business. More than any president in my lifetime, he has acknowledged the importance of farmers and agriculture. That support and focus on negotiating new trade deals gave us the confidence to rebuild our barn and dairy operation. Business was booming again, and business boomed right until the COVID-19 shutdown in March. Many people probably don't realize that our country is one of the few in the world that produces nearly all of its own food. Fewer still understand how close our food production and distribution system came to collapsing this past spring. But President Trump understood and again took steps to provide the supports we needed. President Trump took the necessary action knowing that agriculture is our backbone and strength, critical to our national security. Our entire economy and dairy farming are once again roaring back.
I don't know shit about dairy farming, so I nothing to say during this. I have no fucking idea.
What was happening prior to President Trump, you had businesses that were overregulated, not a friendly environment at all to start a company.
My family stopped ranching about 7 years ago. The regulations became so overbearing that the ranch was slowly sold off.
I lost businesses because of these regulations.
The factories in our town closed. The businesses in our towns have shut. It got to the point finally that middle America needed help. President Trump came in and was able to shed light on an area that had been so long left behind.
God, this is so boring already. Okay. Jesus Christ. At least, there was some insanity last night. I assume we'll get to some of that, but they're already doing these clip shows. That they weren't doing as many of these last night. They were doing a lot of speeches back to back, which I appreciate, even though they were all insane. I do appreciate the speeches. Progressive Voice is claiming that I'm the nephew of Justin Trudeau. He's not even that much older than me. So I'm not sure how that would work out.
The government, it's really cut the handcuffs off of America again and allowed us to grow and move forward in a way that I have never seen in my lifetime.
When you pull regulation and allow small companies to go out there and be able to play in the game, that is the American dream.
People feel that they can support and have a family, and it can build and make us stronger as Americans.
What could be taken away if he doesn't win again?
Joe Biden said the first thing he's going to do is increase taxes on everyone.
Over-regulating and make...
No, that's not exactly. No, that's not. No. Increase corporate taxes to levels that were lower before Trump cut them.
Job is to be the CEO of our country, and he's doing his job.
He has improved jobs, he's improved health, he's improved wages.
He's improved health. He's improved jobs. This is the issue with this entire thing. It's lie after lie after lie, which is why it is so exhausting. And they try and, they create a segment like this to make it seem like this president is normal. He's not normal. He's fucking insane. But unfortunately, this may work on some people. If they're watching this and they really don't know anything. Oh God, let's listen to this.
Years ago, I worked for Ronald Reagan More recently, I helped the team craft Donald Trump's economic plan during the campaign. It was a roaring success. Inheriting a stagnant economy on the front end of recession, the program of tax cuts, historic rollback of onerous regulations that crippled small business, unleashing energy to become the world's #1 producer, and free, fair, and reciprocal
He's less
trade
drunk than
deals
usual.
to bolster manufacturing, agriculture, technology, and other sectors. The economy was rebuilt in 3 years. Unemployment fell to the lowest rate of 3.5%. Blue collars, African Americans, Hispanics, women, all groups benefited enormously. Everyone was better off. A rising tide lifted all boats. Then came a once-in-100-year pandemic. It was awful. Health and economic impacts were tragic. Hardship and heartbreak were everywhere. But presidential leadership came swiftly and effectively with an extraordinary rescue for health and safety to successfully fight the COVID virus. A great bipartisan rescue also saved the economy.
Extraordinary rescue.
Right now,
Right here.
our economic health is coming back.
Look at this extraordinary
with emergency
rescue.
spending and tax cuts. Americans are going back to work. There's a housing boom, there's an auto
Very
boom,
nice.
a manufacturing boom, a consumer spending boom. Stocks are in record territory. A V-shaped recovery is pointing to better than 20% growth in the second half of this year. Now, looking ahead, more tax cuts and regulatory rollback will be in store. Payroll tax cuts for higher wages, income tax cuts for the middle class,
Payroll tax cuts that will destroy Social Security. I'm not going to mention that part.
and jobs. Much more regulatory relief for small businesses. In economic terms, folks, this is no time for a $4 trillion tax hike. Coming out of the deep pandemic, who in their right mind would pick the pockets of taxpayers and drain money from their wallets and purses? Look, our economic choice is very clear. Do you want economic health, prosperity, opportunity, and optimism? Or do you want to turn back to the dark days of stagnation, recession, and pessimism? I believe there can't be better economic policies than we've had in recent years. So I say, stay with them. Thank you.
I'm John Peterson, owner of the...
By the way, you'll notice they will never talk about the budget. They only ever talk about the deficit or national debt when it's Democrats in charge. But when Trump fucking destroys tax cuts for the rich, massive increase, they're not going to mention it. Not going to mention it at all at any point during this night or last night.
6 years ago, we invested heavily in our business, just as a great recession appeared. Barack Obama and Joe Biden, two career politicians who knew nothing about business, couldn't get the government out of our way, and it put our business in a tailspin. Sadly, we were forced to make decisions which included cutting staff, a torturous experience when our employees are like family. The Obama-Biden era banking regulations left us no choice. It tied our lenders' hands, and it deprived us of the lifeblood of our business, capital. We scratched and we clawed for 2 years, and then everything changed. Donald Trump was elected president, and he knew what it was like to build a company and create jobs. One of the first things he did was to cut red tape and put an end to draconian-type banking regulations. He also cut taxes on small businesses,
What the fuck?
allowing us to be more competitive both domestically and internationally. In fact, we increased revenues by 20%.
There aren't enough regulations on the banking industry, and this guy's talking about that there's too many. Like, this is the completely different world these people live in.
A more competitive playing field for American companies. Even with all the challenges presented by the coronavirus, President Trump is rebuilding, and our economy is roaring back again. But when I hear that Joe Biden is ready to raise taxes, crush us with regulations, and weaken our international trade position, I shudder. We simply cannot endure a Biden-induced recession. Some will struggle, some will not survive.
Does he know what's going on right now? Are these people fucking insane? I mean, of course they are. They support Trump. Of course they are. Why do I ask such dumb questions?
Politician who will be nothing but a puppet of the radical left Democrats. As a lifelong resident of Wisconsin,
God,
I'm
I hope
a fan
so.
of the Badger football team. Many may not realize that the Wisconsin Badgers and the president share three common qualities. They are smart, they're tough, and they're dependable. And as a businessman, I can tell you that those qualities we need in our country's leader, and that's why we need to re-elect Donald J. Trump. Thank you, and God bless America.
Please bring out some names. Just the amount
Good
of
evening.
bullshit.
I'm Sissy Graham Lynch.
The Biden platform they
and I'm
described
honored.
is not at all what it is. They lie as a basis for the conversation. That there's no reality in any of this. It is such bullshit.
That means living out our.
Like, it's hard to even know where to start. There's every single sentence in most of these speeches, you can find a lie.
Sure that the voices of faith were always welcomed, not silenced, not bullied. But during the Obama-Biden administration, these freedoms were under attack. Democrats tried to make faith organizations pay for abortion-inducing drugs. Democrats tried to force adoption agencies to violate their deeply held beliefs. Democrats pressured schools to allow...
Notice how she didn't go any further and exactly explain what that was about. I assume it's about allowing kids to be adopted by gay couples, but she's not going to say that. She's not going to say that she's against that because you sound like a fucking monster. So she'll be very cryptic with her wording here.
He appointed judges who respect the First Amendment. He supported religious beliefs in court. He ensured religious ministries would not be forced to violate their beliefs. He withdrew the policies that placed our little girls at risk. And on the world stage, President Trump became the first president to talk about the importance of religious freedom at the United Nations, giving hope to people of faith around the world. In America, we have not yet experienced physical persecution, even though the left has tried to silence us.
What?
Even during the pandemic, we saw how quickly life can change. Some Democratic leaders tried to ban church services, while marijuana shops and abortion clinics were declared essential.
Because you're sitting indoors, close together, in crowds for an hour. That is different than a shop that you walk in and walk out where there's two people allowed in at once. You see the level of lying, the level of bullshit.
Between being obedient to God or to Caesar, because the radical left's God is government power. So in the words of my grandfather, Billy Graham.
So what do you say about Trump tear-gassing peaceful protesters so that he could walk across the street? What do you say about federal officers showing up and occupying Portland and grabbing people off the street, throwing them into unmarked vans and driving off? What is that? What's that? Fuck all these people.
And voting to re-elect President Trump.
I am Bob Vlasolovich, Mayor of Eveleth, a small town in the Iron Range of Minnesota. My father and grandfather earned their livings mining the raw material.
That's nice. I don't give a shit. Gina McGrath says, I hate Trump's economic talking points. Literally everything in this economy is due to Obama. In brackets, most were in the service industry. And Trump is just continuing it. Wages are / were still down and the rich got more rich. fuck Trump. Yeah, you're exactly right. Which is also why what Obama did is nowhere near enough, because they were largely, service jobs and low wage jobs. So, and of course, wages did not see much of an increase, even though I believe they slightly increased over Obama's term, but nowhere near where they needed to be. But yeah, any positive impact on people's lives came from the Obama administration. Trump didn't do shit, and then the virus happened. All Trump did was cut tax for the rich.
We lost thousands of jobs. We lost a generation of young people who had to leave the Iron Range to find a livelihood.
Oh, and sorry, NAFTA 2.0, which is almost the exact same trade deal, but he put his name to it, and I guess it improved labor conditions for some people in Mexico that work in the auto industry. Otherwise, almost the same fucking deal.
Is roaring back to life, and we have one man to thank, President Donald Trump. He made good on his promises by cutting our taxes, rolling back senseless regulations, and delivering trade deals that put America's interests first. But the fight is not over. Joe Biden has allowed radicals like AOC to craft his environmental policies. Their so-called Green New Deal is a job-killing disgrace dreamt up by people who don't live in the real world.
Oh my God. My only hope is this man lives to 150 so that he can die from a flood. Fuck you.
Why would year 48 be any different? President Trump won't back down to anybody. He delivered the best economy in our history, and he will do it again for all of us. The Iron Range's economic future and survival is at stake, and so is America's. We know we can count on President Trump to fight for us and win. Let's make sure he wins on November 3rd. God bless America.
My name is Abby Johnson, and I spent 8 years working for Planned Parenthood, but today I am a pro-life activist. When I was in college, Planned Parenthood approached me at a volunteer fair. They talked about helping women in crisis and their commitment to keep abortion safe, legal, and rare.
This social conservative shit's only
I was convinced to volunteer and later offered a full-time job as a medical assistant before my promotion to director of the clinic. I truly believed I was helping women, but things drastically changed in 2009. In April, I was awarded Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award and invited to their annual gala where they present the Margaret Sanger Award, named for their founder. And Margaret Sanger was a racist who believed in eugenics. Her goal when founding Planned Parenthood was to eradicate the minority population. Today, almost 80% of Planned Parenthood abortion facilities are strategically located in minority neighborhoods. And every year, Planned Parenthood celebrates its racist roots by presenting the Margaret Sanger Award. Later in August, my supervisor assigned me a new quota to meet, an abortion quota. I was expected to sell double the abortions performed the previous year. When I pushed back, underscoring Planned Parenthood's public-facing goal of decreasing abortions, I was reprimanded and told, "Abortion is how we make our money." But the tipping point came a month later when a physician asked me to assist with an ultrasound-guided abortion. Nothing.
By the way, if Medicare for All was a thing and healthcare was just guaranteed to you, there would be no for-profit anything in the healthcare industry. There goes any of their bullshit argument there. So if you are pro-choice, I mean, let's hope you're also for Medicare for All, because otherwise you're giving these people dumbass talking points.
The suction. On October 6th, I left the clinic, looking back only to remember why I now advocate so passionately for life. I founded and currently run And Then There Were None, a nonprofit organization that's helped nearly 600 abortion workers transition out of the industry. For most people who consider themselves pro-life, abortion is abstract. They can't even conceive of the barbarity. They don't know about the products of conception room and abortion clinics where infant corpses are pieced back together to ensure nothing remains in the mother's wombs, or that we joked and called it the pieces of children room. You see, for me, abortion is real. I know what it sounds like. I know what abortion smells like. Did you know abortion even had a smell? I've been the perpetrator to these babies, to these women, and I now support President Trump because he has done more for the unborn than any other president. During his first month in office, he banned federal funds for global health groups that promote abortion. That same year, he overturned an Obama-Biden rule that allowed government subsidy of abortion. He appointed a record number of pro-life judges, including 2 Supreme Court justices. And importantly, he announced a new rule protecting the rights of healthcare workers objecting to abortion, many of whom I work with every day. Life is a core tenet of who we are as Americans. And this election is a choice between 2 radical anti-life activists and the most pro-life president we have ever had. That's something that should compel you to action. Go door to door, make calls, talk to your neighbors and friends, and vote on November 3rd. Take action that reelects our president, and do it with our very most vulnerable Americans in mind, the ones who haven't been born yet.
It began as a class trip to join thousands for the annual.
Yeah, I don't see that being a winning message for them. Like it's nobody has abortions for fun. It's fucking crazy. Oh, we're gonna have these dipshits here now? Oh my God.
Completely false. Against a boy in a Make America Great Again hat.
The MAGA hat carries a certain connotation that provokes a conditioned reaction.
I blame that kid. What a little crap.
Everyone that sees that smug look wants to punch that kid.
Nicholas Sandmann received death threats, and his school was forced to close. Tonight, Nicholas tells his story.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Sandmann, and I'm the teenager who was defamed by the media after an encounter with a group of protesters on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial last year. Before I begin, I'd like to thank President Trump for the opportunity to share some of my story and why it matters so much to this November's election. In 2019, I attended the March for Life in Washington, D.C., where I demonstrated in defense of the unborn. Later that day, I bought a Make America Great Again hat because our president, Donald Trump, has distinguished himself as one of the most pro-life presidents in the history of our country, and I wanted to express my support for him too. Looking back now, how could I possibly imagine that the simple act of putting on that red hat would unleash
the victimization of these people? Think of how often they cry and cry and cry, yet they're the ones that complain about liberals. Oh, these liberals are always so soft, always such snowflakes, always crying. That's all they fucking do, is play the victim. That's all these people fucking do. Every single one of them are playing the fucking victim. That's all they fucking do. There's no help here for people's lives. No discussion about people needing health care. No discussion about how low wages are. No discussion about people losing their job and having no financial assistance during this coronavirus. Nothing at all. Just propping up idiots like this so that they can play victim once more. Every fucking person here is a goddamn victim.
Agitators yelled out, "We got him. It's all right here on video. And we won, Grandpa." What I thought was a strange encounter quickly developed into a major news story, complete with video footage. My life changed
and you
forever in that
capitalized
one
on
moment. The full war machine of the mainstream media revved up into attack mode. They did so without researching the full video of the incident, without ever investigating Mr. Phillips' motives, or without ever asking me for my side of the story. And do you know why? Because the truth was not important.
John Barlick says, did I read this already? I'm in circles now. John Barlick says, Trump just took advantage of Obama's economy. Mike Parquette says, just throw all your dirty pots and pans into a 55-gallon drum. Listen closely to the sounds created. You're now more educated than the average Republican. After Fracture says, she's talking about eugenics, but Republicans' COVID response was a eugenicist's wet dream. It sacrificed old people and those with medical conditions. Yeah, absolutely.
They're being fired, humiliated, or even threatened. And often, the media is a willing participant. But I would not be canceled. I fought back hard to expose the media for what they did to.
How could somebody who nobody knows who you are be canceled? Like, what? The way they're applying this word to everything is insane. How could you be canceled? I don't know who the fuck you are. Get the fuck out of here. I could not be canceled after no one knew who I was, and somehow I have been canceled. Get out of here.
I believe this country must unite around a president who calls the media out and refuses to allow them to create a narrative.
Calls the media out for pointing out his lies. Nothing wrong with calling the media out. I do it all the time on this channel. But I do it because they're spreading lies when they actually do so. Trump only calls the media out when he's being called out for his bullshit. But no, of course, no truth, no facts, nothing going on here. Just some dipshit kid that has a very punchable face still to this day.
What Donald Trump stands for. Thank you all for listening to me tonight. And one more thing. Let's make America great again.
Goddamn kid plays victim for 5 minutes. Great. Good job.
I'm Pam Bondi. Our party's theme tonight is America, the Land of Opportunity. And listening to the stories of discoveries and deliverance, you can't help but be proud to call this country home. But for Joe Biden, it's been the land of opportunism, not opportunity. As a career prosecutor and former Attorney General of Florida, I fought corruption, and I know what it looks like, whether it's done by people wearing pinstripe suits or orange jumpsuits. At the Democrats' convention, we were told to look at Joe Biden as the model of integrity. But when you look at his 47-year career in politics, the people who benefited are his family members, not the American people. Let's take a closer look. We all know about Joe's son,
She
Hunter
sought
Biden,
a donation before nixing the Trump
corrupt Ukrainian
University fraud
oligarch
case.
put
That's who's
Hunter on the
speaking right
board
now.
of his gas company, even though he had no experience in Ukraine or in the energy sector. None. Yet he was paid millions to do nothing. He only had one qualification that mattered. He was the son of the man in charge of distributing U.S. aid to Ukraine. And recently reported information revealed that a few months after Hunter Biden joined that corrupt company's board, the Obama-Biden State Department began doing business.
Notice how this is what they do all the time. They did this last night as well. Projection, 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 projection. What's used against them, in her case, she's incredibly corrupt. She's now using that on Democrats to try and project and, oh, look over there, look over there. I'm not the criminal, they are. This is what they all fucking do. It's almost like a tick. It's like they have to. They can't not avoid the fact that they have whatever problem they have and then have to project that somewhere else, because it's like they have to get it off their chest, but they have to do so in a way where it's not about them. It's about somebody else. Total fucking frauds.
Joe Biden flew to China on Air Force Two with Hunter along for the ride. They said he was just there as a family member, but we know that's untrue. In Beijing, Hunter didn't just go sightseeing. He had meetings with his Chinese bank partners. Hunter even arranged for his dad to meet with one of the partners.
We don't need to listen to this person who is full of shit talking about somebody else's corruption when she herself is the one that fucking took a donation to nix a fraud case, to get rid of a fraud case against Donald Trump University. Oh my fucking God.
Deadly.
Speaking of which, let me get to some chats here. You can still read it here if you want. Where was I? Mind of the North Star says, I have beer, but it feels impossible to sit through this whole thing. You're a stronger person than I am, David. I'm just doing it because it's my job. Otherwise, I would not be here. Deserna says, cancel culture is a myth. It depends how you apply that word. As I've discussed in the past, you know, in the early 2000s, well, not just early 2000s, the past 40 years, the left has been canceled in cable news, in the media. You don't see one single, you know, Marxist on television ever. But, and when it came to the Iraq War, Jesse Ventura had a show canceled. Phil Donahue had a show canceled because they were against the Iraq War. So the left has been canceled forever. But people don't want to apply the word or the term cancel culture to that. They'll apply it to other shit. So there are, you know, instances of people being canceled in that sense. Literally, their shows being canceled because they took a certain position. But it's never discussed from that angle. It's always discussed as, oh, this kid that no one ever knew about was canceled somehow. It's all just complete bullshit from these people.
The Obama-Biden administration in taxpayer-backed loans to projects linked to, yes, that same.
Andrea R. says, SJW left is always playing the victim too. It's competitive victimhood and never about policy on either side. That's exactly what the corporations want. I wouldn't even call that the left. I agree with you. There are people who are hyper obsessed with, you know, I don't know, certain terminology or certain things, and if you get it wrong, and then they hate you forever, and you're the worst person in the world. Yeah, those people exist. They're mostly liberals that were like Hillary Clinton supporters. I wouldn't call them part of the left. Unfortunately, the left gets labeled with that bullshit, which, yes, that shit exists. In the sense, I guess you could apply cancel culture to that term, or to what they do, but it's not like a widespread issue. It's a tiny thing that they've blown up as a way to distract from the actual issues, like people fucking dying from a virus when there's no real help from the administration, people having no real financial help, people having no health care, can't afford health care. It's all to distract from real issues.
In America, bring it on. Joe says he'll build back better. Yeah, build the Bidens back better. Our president is in this to build a safer, better, and stronger America, and he will finish.
So she's talking about Hunter Biden getting a cushy job, which I think I did a video on this, actually. And yes, this exists. It's horrible. It exists. Look at Donald Trump's administration. His fucking family works for him. How did that happen? Like, the idea that, oh, Hunter Biden's the only person in a position of power that's ever given anybody or ever been or has ever used their power to give somebody a good job. Donald Trump is the epitome of that. I don't know what the fuck's going on. After Fracture says, it's really funny hearing people who have always argued that the free market should be the solution to awful businesses whine about cancel culture. Yeah. They're always so free market until the free market smashes their platform. And then all of a sudden, oh no free market. What are you talking about? I'm being canceled.
He rested all of his hopes for winning on one woman. Because of that trust, he became the 45th president of the United States and Kellyanne Conway became the first woman in U.S. history to manage a winning presidential campaign.
This president has been a champion for women mostly because...
I wonder if this was shot, I assume this was shot before the family drama, where she's now going to leave the White House.
Best person for that position. That's it. And he respects that. And he appreciates hard work. You can't ask for anything better, especially in a boss.
President Trump continues to place strong women into significant positions throughout his administration and campaign, far more than any other president in U.S. history.
That he has had and does have more women on his top team than any president before, but it actually goes down to his deputy assistants, to his special assistants, to our awesome teams throughout the West Wing.
And when he called me and said, I want you to represent my entire campaign, I became the first Black woman to represent a Republican presidential campaign, winning presidential campaign in United States history.
Throughout his career, Trump has always touted family first as a core.
Guess what? Women also like power and money, just like men. They will chase it where they can find it, just like men. This doesn't mean shit. This is why focusing completely on identity is always a way to at some point hurt your message, because they can use it against you. This is why the content of what somebody does matters more than anything. And then, of course, perspective matters. Of course, it matters to get people that have different upbringings, are in different classes in society, are, of course, different races, different cultures, different experiences. All of that matters. But the start of everything, the most important factor in anything, is what has that person fought for? Who have they fought for? What have they done? What are they fighting for now? So if you focus purely on identity, they're going to pull shit like this and make it seem like, well, actually, look, Donald Trump is very progressive. He has all these women around him that work for him. He seems that, I mean, the Democrats say all the time that he's sexist and he's racist, but look at all these women.
I'm Tiffany Trump. Since speaking at the Republican convention 4 years ago, so much has changed for the world, for our country, and for my family. Like so many students across the world, I graduated from law school during the pandemic. Our generation is unified in facing the future in uncertain times, and many of us are considering what kind of country we want to live in. As a recent graduate, I can relate to so many of you who might be looking for a job. My father built a thriving economy once, and believe me, he will do it again. This election, I urge each and every one of you.
He didn't build shit.
To transcend political boundaries.
He didn't do anything.
This is a fight.
Trump did not do anything to help people. As was discussed earlier, any benefits that happened in terms of the economy was all because of the Obama administration and Trump riding the coattails of that. And then he cut taxes for the wealthy, and none of those gains went to the workers. I believe 6% of those tax cuts ended up in workers' pockets. All the rest of it, in terms of the corporate tax cut, the rest of it all went to stock buybacks, went to shareholder dividends. There was no actual help for people. Trump didn't do shit.
Law, the Favored Nations Clause, and other actions to lower drug prices and keep Americans from getting ripped off. People must recognize that our thoughts, our opinions, and even the choice of who we are voting for may and are being manipulated and visibly coerced by the media and tech giants. If you tune into the media, you get one biased opinion or another, and what you share, if it does not fit into the narrative that they seek to promote, then it is either ignored or deemed a lie, regardless of the truth. This manipulation of what information we receive impedes our freedoms. Rather than allowing Americans the right to form our own beliefs, this misinformation system keeps people mentally enslaved to the ideas they deem correct. This has fostered unnecessary fear and divisiveness amongst us. Why? are so many in media and technology, and even in our own government, so invested in promoting a biased and fabricated view? Ask yourselves, why are we prevented from seeing certain information?
Who is she talking about specifically? Fox News? OA, what is that? OANN? The Trump kiss-ass network? Like, yes, there's obvious bias in media towards corporations, or in the case of some, just towards Trump.
In an atmosphere where students with contrary opinions are too afraid to speak, many students find themselves suppressing their beliefs to fit into what the acceptable groupthink is. In short, our nation suffers by inhibiting our diversity of thought and inclusion of ideas. Working together, outside of our political comfort zones, will accomplish so much more. Some cynical politicians do not seem to believe in the miracle of America. Well, I do. As Maximo Alvarez said so eloquently last night, if freedom is lost in this country, there is nowhere else to go.
I don't know why closed captioning is dead.
Weakness and believing in miracles is a gift from God. So tonight, I want to tell you the uncensored truth of what we believe in. We believe in equality of opportunity. We believe in freedom of thought and expression. Think what you want. Seek out the truth. Learn from those with different opinions, and then freely make your voice heard to the world. We believe in school choice because a child's zip code in America should not determine.
Hold up. So she's saying, make up your own mind, and now she's going to lay a bunch of things on her that is just the Trump platform.
Country founded on ideas, not identity. A country where our differences are embraced, and the only country where the word dream.
A country founded on ideas, not identity. Meanwhile, they just did an entire segment on identity. That's literally why she's out here right now.
These things and thinking to yourself, that is the kind of country that I want to live in. Well, whether you realize it or not, you are a Trump supporter. I encourage you to see beyond the facade that so many other politicians employ. They mask themselves in disguises of decency as they try to pressure us to mask our own identities and beliefs. My father is the only person to challenge the establishment, the entrenched bureaucracy, big pharma, and media monopolies to ensure.
Yeah, stuffing his administration with a bunch of Wall Street executives. Definitely challenging the establishment.
Father does not run away from challenges, even in the face of outright hatred, because fighting for America is something he will sacrifice anything for. He dreams big dreams for our country, and he is relentless at achieving them. You see, Make America Great Again is not a slogan for my father. It is what drives him to keep his promise of doing what is right for American citizens.
What drives him is narcissism. We all know this. It is obvious. That's all he cares about.
Has blessed us with unstoppable spirit.
He's completely self-absorbed. Anybody with any ability to read any person can see how self-absorbed Donald Trump is. That's all he cares about.
Actions. My father has made me believe that America can truly be great again. If you care about living your life without restraints, about rebelling against those who would suppress your voice and building your American dream, then the choice in this election is clear. A vote for my father, Donald J. Trump, is a vote to uphold our American ideals. Be true to yourself and stay true to the dream of America. Thank you, and God bless you all.
That's how she has to keep the money rolling in from the Trump family. The only way to stay connected is to play ball.
State of Iowa. I love this state, and I'm so proud to serve its people.
I really don't know why closed captions are dead. This is very unfortunate.
Computer. It's a landmark of the financial services industry, and as so many of you already know, it's filled with farmland that feeds and fuels the world. It's also home to people who care for one another, who work hard, who love this country, and are truly grateful for the freedoms it provides. As I like to say, Iowa is one big small town. Neighbor helping neighbor is in our DNA. From the sick farmer who can't harvest his crops, to the single mom who loses her job and his crops left thousands without power. It destroyed homes, wrecked lives, and left devastation in its wake. It was the worst storm in our state's history. And Iowans did what you expect Iowans to do. They helped each other, they took care of each other, and they still are. But someone else had our back, our president. When the winds had finished raging and the cleanup had only begun, he showed up. Now you might...
I think some chats would come in. Let me read these. Two-sided text says, what's your take on not voting for Biden in a non-swing state, Illinois, as a progressive? I think you need to overwhelm the vote. Trump's going to try and pull some shit, and the wider the lead is for Joe Biden in the popular vote, the better it is. So I advise against that. In fact, I even advise against that in New York and California. Overwhelm the popular vote. Trump is going to pull some shit. Bill Barr is going to pull some shit. No. Can't play games right now. It was different in 2016 in swing states, or in states like New York and California, because Trump didn't have power. But Trump has power right now. So he's going to try and pull whatever he can. Overwhelm the vote. Lawrence says, is Tiffany Trump high because she seems high? LOL. I don't know. I don't know what that speech was. Jeffrey Zachary says, can I be a leftist if I'm anti-abortion, but I support other leftist issues? As long as you're not forcing on other people. If you understand it's your own choice. Yeah, of course. It's a personal choice. If you're personally anti-abortion, that's fine. But to try and control other people's bodies, no, it's a decision. So you can have issues with it, but if you're spending, your time, your power to be anti-abortion, if that's your focus, then you're probably in the wrong party. Because there are other fucking issues like guaranteeing people health care, raising wages. But in terms of your personal choices, yeah, that's, of course, there's no issue with that at all.
Any other. Abraham Lincoln's words from 106.
Okay, we're not gonna we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this. This isn't a speech. This is some more bullshit. So we've had Tiffany, Melania is supposed to be coming out, and Eric Trump. If you thought Don Jr. was bad, wait until Eric Trump. By the way, is my Streamlabs working? Which is a display pops up when someone sends a chat in. I wasn't seeing it working earlier, and maybe it'll work now. I guess I'll find out.
Our president's been fighting to expand the reach of the American dream.
By the way, if you watch this later and there's like a weird cut, it's because some of this music may have been copyright and I had to cut it out, which is what happened yesterday. Something was a copyright violation, so I had to cut it out of the stream. It was like a short segment like this, which is why you see me muting a lot of these musical segments.
Was struggling academically and socially in school. But Jack's mom, Sarah, who works 3 jobs to support her son, applied for Wisconsin's school choice voucher program.
We're glad that we were able to get this.
Why not talk about the issue with her working 3 jobs and why that's insane. And she shouldn't have to work 3 jobs to support her family.
Him has been a real game changer for us, and I know that
Pence's face is just it's unbelievable. That always like mildly concerned face. God damn. He's so hard to look at.
Is a mother of another inspiring boy, Jordan. Jordan has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a fatal muscle weakening disorder. Jordan was at my side in Indiana when, as governor, I signed a law allowing terminally ill patients to access experimental drugs not yet approved by the FDA. In 2018, President Trump signed the landmark federal Right to Try bill into law. Thanks to the president's leadership, critically ill patients have the right to access life-saving experimental treatments.
We started fighting for Right to Try, which basically...
Did you hear that? Have the right to access life-saving treatment. They have the right to access. They're doing the same shit Democrats do with healthcare. The right. You should have the right to access healthcare. That doesn't mean you're guaranteed it. It means you have the right to access it. I can access a Lamborghini. Can I have it? No. I can if I have the money, I can access it. But doesn't mean shit because I can't afford it.
2007, when she became the first African-American woman to be elected to serve on the Pennsylvania Superior Court. It's because of leaders like Judge Allen that our nation has overcome our greatest challenges. In this time of racial division in the country, do you see faith and values?
Lon Nome says, you're good at this you're good at this ever thought of streaming on Twitch. Here's to the beer fund to make this tolerable and testing Streamlabs. Well, Streamlabs I think works now. I just saw it. There we go. You're on Twitch, aren't you? I'm on Twitch every morning. In terms of doing this on Twitch, no. If I can do this on YouTube, I will do it on YouTube, as this is the audience. But Twitch is every morning, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Monday to Thursday, except for this week, because tomorrow I'm likely doing a 3 p.m. live stream for an early week, and so I'm not doing it tomorrow morning, but usually it's Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Twitch.
But I have to say that he really won me over.
Gino's a truck driver from Ohio who heard politicians for years make empty promises about defending American jobs, only to see those promises broken again and again. But in 2019, when
and under Trump again, there are actually several stories. One of the few things the media has done well is interview people who were Trump supporters and realized that he was full of shit and that he wasn't, bringing the jobs back like he claimed or whatever. Now, of course, each of those people had to ignore Trump's overt racism and xenophobia. So there's always that. You can't give these people too much credit for being perfectly okay with all that shit. But still, to have people wake up to reality is always a positive. It doesn't happen very often if you're too far gone, but occasionally it does happen.
Aaron Johnson. Today, he's the executive director of the Tulsa Dream Center, a nonprofit that provides...
Gina McGrath says the fact that the President of the United States is having family members speak on his behalf is evidence that America is a failing empire. Yeah. Dynasties have existed for a while. It isn't just Trump, but Trump has a ton of his family in his administration, which is uniquely Trump.
Single parent home,
and then you have that Pam Bondi idiot come out earlier talk about Hunter Biden, which, yeah, of course, there's a problem with him getting a job because of Biden's or likely, Biden didn't do anything, but because of Biden's stature in society, it helps his family members. But then Trump hires his actual fucking family in his goddamn administration. Like, The idea that they're lobbing that attack on Biden when Trump is the worst example of it really is something that is uniquely conservative.
Lydia and her husband run a small business that creates...
Like, liberals at least are a little better at hiding their massive failures. They won't shine a massive light on it by pointing out what someone else is doing when they're actually doing it. Except, as I covered today, Richard Neal, who is facing a primary challenge from Alex Morse in the Massachusetts 1st District. Richard Neal today, I did a video on this, put out how Alex Morse and his friends, the insurance companies, when Richard Neal is the one taking all the insurance money. Anyway, that's a whole different video. Go watch that video. But it's one of the few times I've seen a Trumpian style lie where it's just complete projection. It's 100% a lie and projecting his own failings on his opponent. Usually it's just conservatives doing that.
Family and friends, the government. I tell my children, they are born here in the U.S. And I tell them, you are so blessed to live in America.
Here at Abraham Lincoln's boyhood home, a young man would grow up to become the first Republican president of the United States. And today...
Is that a green screen? It's got to be, right? That has to be a green screen. Unless it's a very, very shallow depth of field.
In every community in this blessed land.
Hi, I'm Ryan Holitz. I'm a police officer from New Mexico. In 2017, I had an encounter that changed my life forever. I had just started my shift and responded to a call for service at a gas station. When I arrived, I saw a man and a woman sitting on a grassy slope. I recognized the telltale signs, a needle, a spoon. I knew immediately that they were preparing to inject themselves with heroin. Sadly, this is a common sight for me. I encounter the ravages of addiction every day. But nothing could prepare me for what I discovered as I approached them. The woman was very pregnant. In my shock, I asked her if she knew that she was harming her baby by doing drugs. She crumbled and burst into tears. Two worlds collided as I knelt down beside her. A police officer and a homeless drug addict.
Where's this going?
Brought together by forces outside of our control. As we talked, our humanity, distinct from our stations in life, was made abundantly clear. Her name was Crystal, and in the midst of her suffering, she confided that she loved her unborn baby. She wanted the best for her child. In that moment, I saw her the way that all of you who know and love an addict see them. As fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, children, cousins, and friends. As human beings, full of value and dignity, but...
So of course he backs Medicare for all, right? Backs Medicare for all, backs a living wage, backs federal jobs guarantee.
Family would welcome her baby through adoption. Today, our beautiful daughter Hope is a thriving 2-year-old. Crystal is fast approaching 3 years of recovery. She is a dear friend and a constant inspiration to me and others. I hold a special place in my heart for those facing opioid addiction, and that's why I'm enormously grateful to the President for his leadership in fighting this deadly enemy. Through his efforts, we're turning the tide on the crisis of addiction. President Trump declared the opioid crisis to be a public health emergency and then secured $6 billion in new federal funding to help Americans fight opioid abuse. He invested an additional $100 million to stop the opioid crisis in rural America. And in a move that strikes at the root of the problem, he implemented a safer prescribing plan aimed at reducing opioid prescriptions by over 1/3 within 3 years. This is an effort that stops addiction before it ever gains a hold in someone's life. And it's having an impact. Drug overdose deaths decreased in 2018 for the first time in 30 years. Many of the states hardest hit by the opioid crisis are seeing the largest drop in deaths. We're seeing that doctors are writing fewer prescriptions for opioid pain drugs. These are significant improvements that have a meaningful impact. I think we are fortunate, America, to have a president who cares deeply for the downtrodden and who works tirelessly to find solutions. A president who doesn't just talk about problems, but stops and helps. President Trump is the leader we've needed the last 4 years, and he is the leader we need for the next 4. You see, Donald Trump is the right president at the right time. Let's make sure he's reelected on November 3rd. I pray God's blessings on you and your family, and may God bless America.
So there's mixed reactions to Trump's moves on the opioid pandemic, but obviously, look, any money is beneficial. I don't know enough about what he did here, so I can't give you specifics. But if you look it up, you'll find some reactions. And the reality is, preventative measures and also ensuring that people are not put in jail over addiction or don't even fear it. Is a big part of the picture, and that is not obviously anything that's been dealt with yet seriously. So there has to be an obvious approach when it comes to universal health care, when it comes to ensuring that people have opportunities, don't get into a situation to begin with where they are feeling depressed enough to be susceptible to any kind of addiction like that. Because that ultimately, that's the issue. The root of the issue is people are in horrible situations and they want to escape their everyday life because everyday life for them is depressing, and that's why they turn to that's why some people turn to drugs like that. In other cases, they get hooked on it because they were given painkillers, and actually, and the reality is, I think that's most cases. Is you get hooked on painkillers and then you keep seeking that. And that is another issue where there is a lack of response in terms of going after these drug companies that have pushed their opioids out there for years and have led to the immense growth in the addiction crisis. But ultimately, it starts with people having health care, people having a living wage, and being able to, what is going on here?
Leader who would work tirelessly to jumpstart our economy and fight for hardworking Americans. Since day one, President Donald Trump has put America first. His pro-growth, pro-jobs agenda has ushered in historically low unemployment, record job creation, higher wages, and rising homeownership. The president is fighting to rescue American jobs and industries for places like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Puerto Rico, jobs that were needlessly shipped overseas. He's defended our religious freedom, stood with democratic allies like Colombia, and shown unwavering resolve while confronting tyrants in countries like Venezuela, Cuba, China, and Nicaragua. Let us join our president in his vow that America will never be a socialist country. Supporting our president requires action. Join me tonight and text VOTE to 88022. We must continue.
Funny they never point to any of the countries that have universal health care that aren't Latin American countries that were somehow destroyed by the U.S., either through invasions or through sanctions. They won't mention Canada. They won't mention Norway. Won't mention Sweden. Won't mention any country that has some kind of universal healthcare system, be it single payer or otherwise, when talking about this fear of a socialist country, socialist takeover. All Bernie Sanders fought for was social democracy, the bare minimum. And these people freak the fuck out and play victim.
Of the state of Florida, it is my distinct privilege to share my story, which is really your story, and the story of a nation that has opened its doors, lifted its people, and yielded success in a way only the United States of America can. Together, let's ensure 4 more years for President Donald J. Trump so that he can continue protecting our republic, and so one day, our children can proudly tell the story of what our generation did to defend the values of faith, family, and freedom. Thank you. May God bless each one of you, and may God bless the United States of America.
She got them crazy eyes. What is going on here?
Acting Secretary Wolf, I present to you 5 candidates for naturalization representing 5 countries.
On behalf of everyone here today, I'd like to express my gratitude to you, Mr. President, for hosting this naturalization ceremony here at the White House. To our candidates.
By the way, this is shit that normally doesn't go on. When it comes to a Democratic convention or a GOP convention, what they do, or what they always don't do, is they never include the White House, any events like this. It's purposely separate from that, because the president is not supposed to use his platform in that way, his power in that way, to help sell his message, using the White House, using moments like this. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is happening during the convention. But of course, the rule book gets thrown out the window in this case. Ultimately, personally, I don't care. But just so people understand that this is not normal. But like, whatever. I don't think this benefits him really in any way. It's more of just a way to waste time. I'm gonna grab some chats. Mike Parquette says, wait, did I miss somebody? No, I did not. Mike Parquette says 5 more for laughing at my pots and pans joke. Also for your resilience in enduring this steamy poop pile for our education. Much appreciated. Thank you, Mike. Red Light Max says, quote, you work 3 jobs? Uniquely American, isn't it? I mean, that is fantastic that you're doing that. Get any sleep? Quoting George W. Bush. Yeah, I used that clip recently in a video. Christian Veneman says, oh, so this cop is in favor of harm reduction and safe injection sites, right? Yeah. Yes. Great point. I should have mentioned safe injection sites. Yeah, we have those in Canada. That helps to reduce addiction as well. And of course, not even just, I think Democrats are also against them, but let me double check that.
To our immigration system. Thank you for hosting such a patriotic celebration here at the White House today.
Thank you. Congratulations, that's fantastic. It's really great, thank you. And I want to thank Acting Secretary Wolf, doing a phenomenal job in so many ways. Today, America rejoices as we welcome 5 absolutely incredible new members into our great American family.
So I'm not seeing much about Democrats and safe injection sites. I see Colorado Democrats abandon supervised drug injection sites. So Colorado Democrats, I guess, tried to get it through in last year and ultimately failed. But otherwise, I'm not really seeing anything. I'm just seeing a lot of Canadian results, as we have a lot of those here. Yeah. The science points to safe injection sites working. That's the fact. So, unfortunately, neither party is actually into using science to dictate their policy. One obviously more so than the other, but even when Democrats, you saw last week, several speeches discussed how Democratic Party is all about science and listen to the science to show us the way forward. Well, there's science on healthcare. Single payer is the answer. There's science on safe injection sites. You should have them. There's science on legalization of marijuana. I mean, at the very least, decriminalize everywhere, but legalize for sure. And not even just marijuana. Portugal, I think 16 years ago now. I lose count because I've covered this story so many times over the years. Portugal decriminalized all drugs. Decriminalized all drugs almost 20 years ago, and they went from having the highest addiction rates in Europe to the lowest after decriminalizing all drugs. Because again, when you treat addiction and drug use as a health thing, as a health issue, and not as a criminal issue, then it allows people to actually, if they need help, get the help they need, and takes it it frees up people in society who feel like they've been rejected for years and feel like outcasts. It allows those people to actually get the help they need because they are no longer afraid of being a criminal over their drug use. But you're not going to see that kind of science dictate policy from either of these parties.
India came to the United States 13 years ago. Sudha is a talented software developer, and she and her husband are raising two beautiful, wonderful children, the apples of your life, right? Yes, they are. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations. Fantastic job. Thank you. Nehmet Abdelzim Awaloside is from...
Tenlon Gnome says, is it legal to campaign from the White House? I got to look this up. I think it's legal. It's just frowned upon. It's kind of like an unwritten rule to not do that. But I'll double check in 1 second. Andrew Dwyer says, just tuning in. What did I miss? No need to answer. Just asking in jest. Yeah, you didn't miss much. Mona Carmona says, hey, David, just want to say hi. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you, Mona.
Well,
let me look up that White House campaigning thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Salah Abdul Samad has been looking forward to this day since he arrived in the United States from Ghana in 2015. Salih speaks 5 languages and works the medical field. Salih says that the American citizenship means everything to me in my life. It cannot be measured or quantified. I have the chance to work hard and succeed in life, to know that I am in the safe country like America. That really is something, because I know they have my back. Salih, thank you very much. Congratulations. Fantastic job. Congratulations to everybody. With the rights and freedoms each of you now enjoys as citizens, there is no dream beyond your wildest reach, because Americans can do anything. Today, you have also accepted the profound duties and responsibilities that come with American citizenship. By swearing the oath of allegiance, each of you has entered a sacred and unbreakable covenant with our nation. You have pledged your undying loyalty to the American people.
So my understanding is that it's not illegal because Trump does not fall under the Hatch Act, which prohibits the executive branch employees from using their government authority to influence an election. But that doesn't include the president. So, and on top of that, I'm sure they've already broken the rule a million times. I'm sure other people in the administration have. So it's, who's even keeping track at this point? Like the amount of lawlessness from this administration is, I mean, if you're going to do it, they did it the best way. just do it over and over and over and over again until people stop paying attention, stop caring, and it stops meaning anything. That's the point they've gotten to. It's been too much. There's been too much to cover, too much to follow. That something like this, who's going to care about him doing this when he's done so much else that's actually impacted real lives, like the virus. Here we go.
Good evening, America. When I stood on this convention stage 4 years ago, no one fully understood the historic change that was about to take place. We could all feel it. Something was happening. A movement was forming just below the surface. The forgotten man and woman, voiceless in Washington, D.C., were preparing to rise up. Our movement followed the pattern of so many that came before us. First, we were ignored. Then we were laughed at. Then they fought us. And then, together, we won. From that moment forward, America came first. America started winning again. America became respected again. But with every movement, there's a counter-movement. In the view of the radical Democrats, America is the source of the world's problems. As a result, they believe the only path forward is to erase history and forget the past. They want to destroy the monuments of our forefathers. They want to disrespect our flag.
Race history or
burn the
race
stars
history?
and stripes that represent patriotism and the American dream. They want to disrespect our national anthem by taking a knee while our armed forces lay down their lives every day to protect our freedom.
It's the greatest hits of
They
bullshit.
do not want the Pledge of Allegiance in our schools. Many of them don't want one nation under God. The Democrats want to defund and disrespect our law enforcement. The Democrats want an America where your thoughts and opinions are censored when they do not align with their own. President Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, and it must be protected. This is the fight that we are in right now, and it is a fight that only my father can win. My father ran not because he needed the job, but because he knew hardworking people across this great country were being left behind. The media mocked these patriots in the flyover states in which they lived. They ignored the Trump flags. They ignored the millions of MAGA banners and barns painted in red, white, and blue.
They would hate Ronald Reagan.
The silent majority had no one fighting for them in either party. Their so-called leaders were bowing to China, bribing Iran, and spending more time worrying about how they'd be received by the elites in Paris than how Americans would provide for their families in Pittsburgh. Our family lost friends, but it only pushed us to fight harder.
It's been lie upon lie. I can't even keep track at this point. This is what they do.
City, state, and town, that he was going to make America great again. And so began the great American comeback. Almost immediately, taxes were slashed, regulations were cut, and the economy soared to new heights, heights never seen before. Wages went through the roof. Unemployment reached historic lows, especially for Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, and women. Trade deals were ripped up and renegotiated. Lights were turned back on in abandoned factories across our country. Trillions of dollars were repatriated back to the United States, which had been sitting in foreign lands for far too long. Once again, America became the envy of the world. And with that renewed strength came leverage. The president demanded that our allies pay their fair share for the defense of the West.
America became the envy of the world. I can tell you as a non-American, fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
He expanded our military defense budget to $721 billion per year. America was no longer weak in the eye of the enemy. The moment President Trump ordered special forces to kill some of the deadliest terrorists on the planet, the day the mighty Moab was dropped on insurgent camps, is the day America took a stance to never be defeated by the enemy.
By the way, earlier in the night, you had Rand Paul out there saying Donald Trump is an anti-war president, and now you have Eric Trump talking about how Donald Trump dropped the mother of all bombs. Yeah, this is what they did. This is exactly what I said last night. They do scattershot. They say everything at once. So if you like whatever they did or like whatever was said, you're going to find it because they take both sides of every goddamn position.
Wars were finally ended. Promises made and promises for the first time were kept. Most politicians spend their entire careers in Washington, D.C. and get absolutely nothing accomplished. For example, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a politician who has been in government for 47 years. He's a career politician who's never signed the front of a check and does not know the slightest thing about the American worker or the American business, the engine which fuels the greatest economy the world has ever known. The same politician who has been a total pushover for communist China, and someone who would be a giant relief for terrorists who now have spent years running, hiding, and being taken out by the most talented military known to man. Joe Biden has pledged to raise your taxes by $4 trillion. 82% of Americans will see their taxes go up significantly. Biden has pledged to stop border wall construction and give amnesty and health care to all illegal immigrants. Biden has pledged to defund the police and take away your cherished Second Amendment. My father, on the other hand, delivered the largest tax cuts in American history, knows if you do not have a border, you do not have a country, and will always support law enforcement and your right to keep and bear arms. Every day, my father fights for the American people, the forgotten man and woman of this country, the ones who embody the American spirit, which is unlike anything else in the world. It built the New York City skyline. It built the Hoover Dam. And soon, under my father's leadership, it will send Americans to Mars. The American spirit can be felt in the majesty of the Grand Canyon, the shadows of Mount Rushmore, and the stillness of the air at Gettysburg. It can be seen in the wide-eyed wonder of every American child as they take their first breath in the greatest country the world has ever known. It defeated fascism, it defeated communism, and in 68 days, it will defeat the empty, oppressive, and radical views of the extreme left. Ronald Reagan's quote,
empty, oppressive, and radical. How empty can it be if it's oppressive and radical?
In the United States, where men and women were free. Under President Trump, freedom will never be a thing of the past. That's what a vote for Donald Trump represents. It's a vote for the American spirit, the American dream, and for the American flag. To the law enforcement officer who's being attacked, betrayed, and whose job they are trying to make extinct.
Are you talking about the guy that shot that man in the back 7 fucking times? Now he's paralyzed?
Of our religious freedoms and religious liberties, my father will fight for you. To the voiceless, shamed, censored, and canceled, my father will fight for you. To our farmers who work dawn to dusk to keep our plates full, my father will fight for you. To every single mother and father, to our veterans, our coal miners, and to the American worker, my father will fight for you. And to every proud American who bleeds red, white, and blue, my father will continue to fight for you. In closing, I'd like to speak directly to my father. I miss working alongside you every single day, but I'm damn proud to be on the front lines of this fight. I'm proud of what you're doing for this country. I'm proud to show my children what their grandfather is fighting for. I'm proud to watch you give them hell. Never stop. Continue to be unapologetic. Keep fighting for what is right. You are making America strong again. You are making America safe again. You are making America proud again. And yes, together with a forgotten man and woman who are finally forgotten no more, you are making America great again. Dad, let's make Uncle Robert very proud this week. Let's go get another 4 years. I love you very much. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
There you go. Shit sandwich. Good God. Is Melania next? Miranda Juvan says, $5 just to repeat your story from Twitch this morning regarding the New York ladies on the bus. Oh, I can't do that now. I'm not in the mood. Sorry. I can't do that right now. Okay, maybe I'll try. So I was on a trip a year ago, and definitely some Trump supporters behind me on this bus tour, and they're from New York, and they were having a conversation, and they were talking about the squad, and I remember distinctively that this one quote that one of the ladies said, that I think they're from Queens. Pretty sure they're Trump supporters, but they could be. No, they're definitely Trump supporters. But the quote was, the squad, oh, the squad, yeah, they don't know the dick from the asshole. In case you didn't get my translation there. The squad, they don't know their dick from their asshole. That was my experience with a boomer from Queens. Now, I just kind of laughed to myself. Hearing that stuff out in the wild, oddly enough, didn't really bother me because I know it exists. Those people clearly, didn't know all that much, but they were well off elderly couple from Queens. They don't know too much, and that's okay. But obviously, I don't know. It was a fun trip. They were nice people otherwise, but politics backwards. Miranda Giovanni says, it is illegal to campaign from the White House or on taxpayer dollars. It's a violation of the Hatch Act. This BS is totally illegal. So I'm seeing mixed results on that, or mixed opinion. According to CNN, the president and vice president are exempt from violations under the Hatch Act, but it does apply to the presumably dozens of other executive branch staffers who would be involved in a convention event. So apparently doesn't apply to Trump. But again, it's, for me, this is like a minor point. Like, it's a little distraction from the reality that is the current state of America. Oh, that was a mistake.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Cameron. I'm 34 years old and the first African-American Attorney General in Kentucky history. It is an honor to be with you as a proud Republican and supporter of Donald J. Trump. I was raised in Kentucky, just a few miles from Abraham Lincoln's birthplace. Our first Republican president believed in compassion, self-reliance, freedom, equality, and justice. Sadly, there are some who don't believe in this wisdom or in the better angels of our shared American history as they tear down the statues of people like Ulysses S. Grant, Frederick Douglass, and even Mr. Lincoln himself. Lincoln said, "Any nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure." And for Republicans, our heroes are those who propelled an imperfect nation ever forward, always striving to make life better for everyone. Even as anarchists mindlessly tear up American cities while attacking police and innocent bystanders, we Republicans do recognize those who work in good faith towards peace, justice, and equality. In fact, it was General Dwight Eisenhower, a future Republican president, who said, "Democracy is a system that recognizes the equality of humans before the law." Whether you are the family of Breonna Taylor or David Dorn, these are the ideals that will heal our nation's wounds. Republicans will never turn a blind eye to unjust acts, but neither will we accept an all-out assault on Western civilization. My value.
Look at the straw man they develop. An all-out assault on Western civilization. The hyperbole is at extreme levels. There is no all-out assault on Western civilization. There is a call for justice. There is a call to ensure that these police forces don't have the power they currently have. Assuming he was still talking about criminal justice there. But just generally, where's the assault? Where is this assault on civilization?
So the question is, will we choose the path that gives us the best chance to meet those universal desires? Or will we go backward to a time when people were treated like political commodities who can't be trusted to think for themselves? I think often about my ancestors who struggled for freedom. And as I think of those giants and their broad shoulders, I also think about Joe Biden, who says, if you aren't voting for me, you ain't black, who argued that Republicans would put us back in chains, who says there is no diversity of thought in the black community. Mr. Vice President, look at me. I am black. We are not all the same, sir. I am not in chains. My mind is my own, and you can't.
He has done hyperbole the entire fucking time, and then he attacks Biden over hyperbole. Now, the other two quotes, yes, are terrible, as I have when I've gone after Biden on many occasions. In fact, look at my channel, search Joe Biden's name. Pretty much, I'm almost positive every single video on just Joe Biden is a negative video on Joe Biden, because his record is horrible. But look at what you're facing here. You're facing total fucking lunatics.
And the destruction of public discourse. They believe your skin color must dictate your politics. And if you fail to conform while exercising your God-given right to speak and think freely, they will cut you down.
Now here he is using hyperbole after attacking Joe Biden over the same fucking bullshit. Fuck you. Mute your goddamn mic. Mikey Kingston says, cocaine and culture war, let's go. Miranda Juvon says, not only would they hate Ronnie Reagan, if Jesus showed up right now, the Republicans would call him a socialist, Antifa super soldier, and re-crucify him. Yeah, 100%. Arlene Chambers says regulations were cut and people started dying. Tejaswi says, I think you reacted like a kid to that Nicholas kid. He was incarcerated by media. Incarcerated by media. I think that's a little extreme there. And all of us going with narrative, it happens to left, right, and I think we should stand up against such harassment. I was talking about his appearance here. He doesn't need to be here. Clearly, he's taken his 15 minutes to the extreme, and the GOP, of course, have enabled him to do that. But he had no place at an event like this. Gorik Trizona says, yeah, I'm an American. I bleed red, white, and blue because there's something wrong with me, and I can't afford to go to the doctors. Shelby says, I wouldn't be watching this if it were not for you, David. I like your take on things. Well, thank you, Shell.
And like any family, we care for one another. We grieve together. We share our burdens and our struggles, and we celebrate our successes. And though we fuss and fight, we are not enemies. We are Americans, united by a collective faith in our Constitution and laws and the fundamental fairness they represent. We are defenders of life and of individual liberty, and we carry the mantle of Eisenhower and of Reagan to be a force for good in this world, and one that must always be reckoned with. That's my Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, that believes America is an indispensable nation, an evergreen tree, standing tall in a turbulent world. And that's why I am voting for Donald Trump for president. Thank you, and God bless.
Hi, I'm Mike Pompeo.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm speaking to you from beautiful Jerusalem, looking out over the old city. I have a big job as Susan's husband and Nick's dad. Susan and Nick are more safe, and their freedom's more secure because President Trump has put his America First vision into action. It may not have made him popular in every foreign capital, but it's worked. President Trump understands what my great fellow Kansan President Eisenhower said. For all that we cherish and justly desire for ourselves or for our children, the securing of peace is the first requisite. Indeed, the primary constitutional function of the national government is ensuring that your family and mine are safe and enjoy the freedom to live, to work, to learn, and to worship as they choose. Delivering on this duty to keep us safe and our freedoms intact, this president has led bold initiatives in nearly every corner of the world. In China, he's pulled back the curtain on the predatory aggression of the Chinese Communist Party. The president has held China accountable for covering up the China virus and allowing it to spread death and economic destruction in America and around the world. And he will not rest until justice is done. He has ensured that the Chinese Communist Party spies posing as diplomats in America are jailed or sent back to China. And he has ended the ridiculously unfair trade arrangement with China that punched a hole in our economy. Those jobs are coming back home. In North Korea, the president lowered the temperature and against all odds got the North Korean leadership to the table. No nuclear tests, no long-range missile tests, and Americans held captive in North Korea came home to their families, as did the precious remains of scores of heroes who fought in Korea. Today, because of President Trump, NATO is stronger, Ukraine has defensive weapon systems, and America left a harmful treaty so our nation can now build missiles to deter Russian aggression. And in the Middle East, when Iran threatened, the president approved a strike that killed the Iranian terrorist Qasem Soleimani. This is the man most responsible for the murder and maiming of hundreds of American soldiers and thousands of Christians across the Middle East. And you'll recall, too, that when the president took office, radical Islamic terrorists had beheaded Americans, and ISIS controlled a territory in the size of
Soleimani was literally fighting ISIS. That's what they were doing. He was helping to fight ISIS, and they fucking murdered him and almost started World War III.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead, and our brave soldiers, they're on their way home. The president exited the U.S. from the disastrous nuclear deal with Iran and squeezed the Ayatollah, Hezbollah, and Hamas. The president, too, moved the U.S. Embassy to this very city of God, Jerusalem, the rightful capital of the Jewish homeland. And just 2 weeks ago, the president brokered a historic peace deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. This is a deal that our grandchildren will read about in their history books. You know, as a soldier, I saw firsthand people desperate to flee to freedom. The way each of us can best ensure our freedoms is by electing leaders who don't just talk, but who deliver. An American hostage, imprisoned in Turkey for 2 years, Pastor
Aaron says, David, I'm not sure how you have the patience for this. Because honestly, I tune a lot of these speeches out. So I'm sure I miss many lies throughout the course of these speeches, but it's not possible to listen to all of it. You have to just, if something sticks out, listen to that and respond to that. But I can't absorb all of this. It's too much. It's too much crap. What the fuck is happening? I feel like we very rarely see his wife. I feel like she's not on board for this. Mikey Kingston says, dare me to run another mile. It's hot AF in Cali. I will not dare you because it's not something I would do. Laura Nicole says, David, thanks for making this tolerable to watch. You're awesome. You always crack me up with your facial expressions. Well, thank you. If I can't offer much in commentary, at least I can offer something for you in facial expressions. Oh, what are we gonna? Is it gonna be Melania? Is that what this is?
It is my great honor to present First Lady Melania Trump.
What's with this graphic?
First Lady Melania Trump officially kicking off her Be Best initiative. She is courageous. She's taking on a tough topic, focused on the well-being of children, social media use, and opioid abuse.
Let's join together in recommitting to help children dream big, think big, and do all they can to be best in everything they do.
This is her showcasing what she brings to the position.
Meanwhile, the president is a horrible fucking man. But somehow Melania is supposed to be this this person that inspires the best in people. All right.
We can be a diplomat for our country.
The sun was shining. She was greeted by children. This, of course, is her continuing to work on her Be Best campaign by shining a spotlight on successful programs that teach children tools and skills.
She represents our country with enormous warmth.
Everybody around him is enabling him at this point. If you haven't come out by now, then you don't get any credit. I'm sorry. She gets no fucking credit for sticking around and being a part of this bullshit. I don't care if you talk to some kid in a wheelchair. Doesn't mean shit. You're a horrible person.
For the first time in 60 years.
When the history books are written, there should be a special chapter reserved for our First Lady. She is an incredible First Lady.
An amazing mother, an incredible woman, First Lady Melania Trump.
Oh yeah, I just realized, the song's probably going to be pulled. Well, good. We get to cut out this segment from the stream. Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the First Lady of the United States, Mrs. Melania Trump.
What do you think it's going to be? Is it going to stack up to Michelle Obama's speech? Which, of course, it's funny. It's funny to think that there are legitimate criticisms of all those speeches last week, including Michelle Obama's speech, which was great on an emotional level, but you could always poke holes in issues in terms of actual specifics on policy and all that. But, man, if there is one way to sell the Democratic Party to people, it's to show them this insanity. Let's listen in.
Good evening. It seems like just yesterday that we were at our first convention, where my husband accepted the Republican nomination and then became our 43rd President of the United States. Yet the energy and enthusiasm
caption said
for
43 feet.
Who should lead this nation, it is real today as it was 4 years ago. I know I speak for my husband and the entire family when I say we have not forgotten the incredible people who were willing to take a chance on the businessmen who had never worked in politics. We know it was you who elected him to be Commander-in-Chief, and we know it is you who will carry us through again. We were humbled by the incredible support then, and we are still grateful today. I want to acknowledge the fact that since March, our lives have changed drastically. The invisible enemy, COVID-19, swept across our beautiful country and impacted all of us. My deepest sympathy goes out to everyone who has lost a loved one, and my prayers are with those who are ill or suffering. I know many people are anxious and some feel helpless. I want you to know you are not alone. My husband's administration will not stop fighting until there is an effective treatment or vaccine available to everyone. Donald will not rest until he has done all he can to take care of everyone impacted by this terrible pandemic. I want to extend my gratitude to all of the healthcare professionals, frontline workers, and teachers who stepped up in these difficult times. Despite the risk to yourselves and your own families, you put our country first, and my husband and I are grateful. I have been moved by the way Americans have come together in such an unfamiliar and often frightening situation. It is in times like this that we will look back and tell our grandchildren that through kindness and compassion, strength and determination, we were able to restore the promise of our future. Businesses stepped up and volunteers stepped in. People were eager to share ideas, resources, and support of all kinds with neighbors and strangers alike. It has been inspiring to see what the people of our great nation will do for one another, especially when we are at our most fragile. Speaking of strength and determination, we recently celebrated the 100-year anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment. Yesterday, on the North Lawn of the White House, we unveiled an exhibit dedicated to women's suffrage. The exhibit called on children from across the country to send art honoring the meaning of this important time in women's history. When I was judging the entries, I reflected on the impact of women's voices in our nation's story, and how proud I will be to cast my vote again for Donald this November. We must make sure that women are heard and that the American dream continues to thrive. Growing up as a young child in Slovenia, which was under communist rule at the time, I always heard about an amazing place called America, a land that stood for freedom and opportunity. As I grew older, it became my goal to move to the United States and follow my dream of working in the fashion industry. My parents worked very hard to ensure our family could not only live and prosper in America, but also contribute to a nation that allows for people to arrive with a dream and make it reality. I want to take the moment to thank my mother and father for all they have done for our family. It is because of you that I'm standing here today. I arrived in the United States when I was 26 years old. Living and working in the land of opportunity was a dream come true, but I wanted more.
So far,
I wanted to be a citizen. After 10 years of paperwork and patience, I studied for the test in 2006 and became an American citizen.
This speech is nothing so far. There's nothing going on here.
My life, because with hard work and determination, I was able to achieve my own American dream. As an immigrant and a very independent woman, I understand what a privilege it is to live here and to enjoy the freedoms and opportunities that we have. As First Lady, I have been fortunate to see the American dream come true over and over again. I have met many inspiring women, children, parents, and families who have overcome life-changing issues that include addiction, homelessness, family members who are ill or have passed away, abuse of all kinds, and many other challenges that would make most people give up. The past 3.5 years have been unforgettable. There are no words to describe how honored, humbled, and fortunate I am to serve our nation as your First Lady. After many of the experiences I've had, I don't know if I can fully explain how many people I take home with me in my heart each day. From brave soldiers who give up so much so that we can be free, to children of all circumstances who I have met around the world. Thank you for inspiring me. It is my greatest honor to serve you. When I speak to members of the military, despite sacrificing time with their families, experience the fear of war
This is so boring.
or suffering
There's
loss,
nothing going on.
they have no regrets
all
about
empty.
serving our country. The same goes for their families and the families
This
of
is the
first
most
responders.
This is the most cookie cutter bullshit speech that I've seen from anybody important. That is supposed to give somewhat of a speech that supporting the president for whatever reason. This is just very vague. There's nothing going on here.
I hear in their voices is something I think about often. So thank you to all who serve our country in the military and as first responders. And thank you to the families who wait for them. You are our heroes in your own right. I have also been moved by the many children and families I've spent time with at hospitals, schools, and other locations around the world. Children who are dealing with pain or illness that would break even the strongest adult. Parents who are grateful to wake up every day and see that their child is still alive. These families are a testament to what faith and medicine, strength and science can do. On my first international trip as First Lady, my husband and I visited places of great significance to the three major religions: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. One special memory from that trip is of a young boy I had privilege of visiting while at Bambino Gesù Hospital in Rome, Italy. While there, I read the little boy a story and learned that he and his family had been waiting for a heart for a very long time, and he had a grim prognosis. His situation brought my staff and me to tears, and we spoke of a little else as we flew to Belgium for the next part of our trip. Upon landing just a few hours later, we learned that a heart had been donated and would be going to the little one. I think about him often, along with so many amazing and strong young patients across our own country.
Is that the story?
More profound and sadly unavoidable examples of our country's strength and character have occurred in the communities that have been impacted by natural disasters. Hurricanes, tornadoes, and flooding may show the ugly side of Mother Nature.
Climate
But in
change.
their aftermath, they can show us a beautiful side of humanity. My husband and I have visited many places that have been affected by natural disaster, and we are deeply moved by the strength of the people who have lost everything and the kindness of neighbors and communities.
There's nothing
The
here.
common thread in all of these challenging situations is
How
the
about how to
unwavering
prevent more of
resolve
these from
to
happening?
help one another.
How about the root cause of
I
all
recognize
of
the
these
stories
increase
I just told
in these natural disasters?
about people who survive extraordinary circumstances. But Donald and I are also inspired by the millions of Americans who wake up each day with a simple yet courageous goal of providing for their families and keeping them safe. You are the backbone of this country. You are the people who continue to make the United States of America what it is, and who have the incredible responsibility of preparing our future generations to leave everything even better than they found it. Just as you are fighting for your families, my husband, our family, and the people in this administration are here fighting for you. No matter the amount of negative or false media headlines or attacks from the other side, Donald Trump has not and will not lose focus on you. He loves this country, and he knows how to get things done. As you have learned over the past 5 years, he is not a traditional politician. He doesn't just speak words. He demands action, and he gets results. The future of our country has always been very
No
important
specifics.
to him, and it is something that I have always admired. In fact, it is to help ensure a better future for our next generation that I launched Be Best, my initiative to help children achieve their fullest potential. Be Best has one simple goal: teaching youth about the importance of their well-being, both mentally and physically. This also includes understanding online safety and the dangers of opioid and drug abuse. Through Be Best, my office and I have been able to highlight people, programs, and organizations that are doing extraordinary things in our country and around the world.
This is really bad.
I continue to believe that by shining a light on these positive examples, others across the country and globe will become inspired to do their part for our next generation. Helping children is not a political goal. It is our moral imperative. When I think back to a defining moment of Be Best, my mind goes to a trip I took to Africa. On that vast and beautiful continent,
You know what's funny? There's not much lying going on here because she's not saying anything.
Ghana,
There's
Malawi,
no opportunity to really
Kenya,
lie.
and Egypt.
So that's a plus.
One of those visits, in particular, had a profound impact on me. Ghana, on the coast of West Africa, was the first stop on my trip, and I experienced
Oh my God, this speech is horrible. I'm still thinking about her story when she went to Rome and met a kid who needed a heart, and then they went to Belgium and she heard that he got a heart. That was like a thing she highlighted in this speech. She made a point to discuss that story. Why? What was the point of that? There was nothing to it. The contents of this speech are insane. There is nothing going on here. It is so empty.
Sure that it never happens again. Like all of you, I have reflected on the racial unrest in our country. It is a harsh reality that we are not proud of parts of our history. I encourage people to focus on our future while still learning from our past. We must remember that today we are all one community comprised of many races, religions, and ethnicities. Our diverse and storied history is what makes our country strong, and yet we still have so much to learn from one another. With that in mind, I like to call on the citizens of this country to take a moment, pause, and look at things from all perspectives. I urge people to come together in a civil manner so we can work and live up to our standard American ideals. I also ask people to stop the violence and looting being done in the name of justice, and never make assumptions based on the color of a person's skin. Instead of tearing things down, let's reflect on our mistakes, be proud of our evolution, and look to our way forward. Every day, let us remember that we are one nation under God, and we need to cherish one another. My husband's administration has worked to try and effect change when it comes to issues around race and religion in this country. He is the first president to address a special session of the United Nations General Assembly to call upon countries across the world to end religious persecution and honor the right of every person to worship as they choose. He has made substantial investments in our historically black colleges and universities. This president also continues to fight for school choice, giving parents more options to help their children
Every other
flourish.
person mentions school choice.
My husband knows how to make a real change. From the day that I met him, he has only wanted to make this country the best it can be.
It's all about charter
For many
schools.
years, I watched him grow concerned and frustrated, and I'm so proud to see the many things he has done in such a short time. America is in his heart. So while at times we only see the worst of people and politics on the evening news, let's remember how we come together in the most difficult times. And while debate rages on about issues of race, let's focus on the strides we have made and work together for a better tomorrow for everyone. Our administration has also devoted historic resources and produced life-saving results by raising awareness around opioid addiction and drug abuse, especially for children. When so often the headlines are filled with gossip, I want to take this moment to encourage the media to focus even more on the nation's drug crisis. This disease is one that affects everybody. It pays no attention to race, age, or socioeconomic status. Addiction has...
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck about any of this in the 80s, but once it hits white people, it's a big fucking deal, which of course, yes, thank you for finally recognizing that this is a health issue, not a criminal issue. But the reality is they're still locking people up over this shit.
Make that happen. To the media industry and as a country, I ask that we all commit to helping in our fights against drug addiction by talking about it even more. Especially as we battle the COVID pandemic, we need to remember that suicides are on the rise as people who are struggling with loneliness and addiction feel they have nowhere to turn.
And maybe no fucking money, no
Parents,
healthcare.
please talk to your children. Teachers and caregivers, pay attention to signs of addiction. Lawmakers, pass legislation that allows those who ask for help to do so safely and without fear, and to provide resources for organizations that help people impacted by addiction.
Does she realize her husband's the president?
Longer be ashamed to ask for help, and lives will be saved. And if you are struggling with addiction, there is no shame in your illness. Please seek help. You are worth it. In my next 4 years as First Lady, I will continue to build upon Be Best and work with individual states to pass legislation to take care of our most vulnerable. I plan to continue the work I have started with children in foster care, as well as the minority communities and tribal nations. I want to ensure children are being protected and communities have the resources needed to combat drug addiction and child neglect or abuse. Like my husband and the administration, I will continue to encourage education that supports a child's individual needs.
So boring.
It is
Shut
vital
up.
that children are given the building
Come on.
blocks to succeed. I also look forward to continue my work to restore the People's House, which is a lasting symbol of pride for our nation. I believe this iconic home needs to be cared for and preserved so it can be enjoyed by the people of this country and visitors from around the world for years to come. I'm passionate about this beautiful house, the grounds, and all they represent. And now I have a special message for the mothers of this country. This modern world is moving so fast, and our children face challenges that seem to change every few months. Just like me, I know many of you watch how mean and manipulative social media can be. And just like me, I'm sure many of you are looking for answers how to talk to your children about the downside of technology and their relationships with their peers.
No one's getting the answer
Like
from
every
you.
parent in this country,
Guarantee you that.
I feel there are so many lessons to teach our son and responsibilities as his mother, but there are just not enough hours in the day to do it all. I remind myself that I'm more fortunate.
There's also not enough hours in this day for this speech. I'm sorry, you got to read the rest. This is too much for me. Balthazar says, GOP, quote, let me tell you how we took down the biggest threat of all time, Soleimani. Obama, hold my bin Laden. Patrick says 43 feet equals 21.5 people. Yeah, she said Trump's the 43 feet president of the U.S. All right, let's finish this. I feel like we should finish it off. We came this far.
He just works harder. Donald is a husband who supports me in all that I do. He has built an administration with an unprecedented number of women in leadership roles and has fostered an environment where the American people are always the priority. He welcomes different points of view and encourages thinking outside of the box. I know I speak for my husband and the family when I say we are so grateful that you have trusted him to be your president, and we will be honored to serve this incredible country for 4 more years.
Jesus Christ. I can't do it. Rana Juvan says, go rogue, Melania. It's live. Humiliate and disgrace him in front of the U.S. Also, life is too short to wear shoes so painful you can barely walk in them. Balthazar says, quote, I wonder how it will measure up to Michelle's. Not great considering she isn't stealing it word for word this time. Yeah. She probably should have just plagiarized another speech. Rana Juvan says, quote, so what I am saying, America, is unless you look like me and can be bought, or you're willing to work illegally for nothing, you'll never live here. Damn, some harsh words. Mona Carmona says she achieved the American dream all on her own with no help from anyone. It couldn't be that. She just landed a rich guy. Yeah. Balthazar says, quote, I went to Rome and met a kid who needed a heart. Then I went to Belgium and found a hairy kid who needed courage. Then I went to Romania and met a kid who needed a brain. Then I went to Oz to go ask the wizard about them. The E-flat guy says Melania's speech. I don't really care, do you? No, I don't. I was curious, but Jesus Christ. Curiosity killed the cat, or so I hear. So I think that means I'm dead.
Here, I know, just as you do, that Americans will go to the polls and vote on the behalf of their families, our economy, our national security, and our children's future. To vote for those ideals is not a partisan vote. It is a common sense vote, because those are goals and hopes that we all believe in. I believe that we need my husband's leadership now more than ever in order to bring us back once again to the greatest economy and the strongest country ever known. God bless you all, your families, and God bless the United States of America.
That's that fucking speech. Jesus Christ Almighty. The worst speech I've seen. At least, you know, the lunatic yesterday, Kimberly Guilfoyle. At least she was, at least it was 6 minutes long, nice and short, and she was out of this world insane in the way that she performed it. It was entertaining in how crazy it was. This was just so goddamn boring. As I said earlier, I wish she actually plagiarized the speech this time. This was horrible. I believe she wrote this one. I don't even think she had a speechwriter for this one. I think she wrote this herself. Terrible, terrible speech. I mean, the highlight for me was that kid that she met in Rome who needed a heart. He really needed a heart. He had a sad... This was like a 3-minute story that she told. A kid in Rome that she met needed a heart, and then she... I'm obviously being really quick here, but it took her 3 minutes to tell this story. Went to Rome. This kid needed a heart. Then she went to Belgium, and all they could talk about was this kid who needed a heart. And then she arrived in Belgium, and she got a call, and she heard that he got a heart. That was the story. And then she moved on. I don't know. I don't know what that was. I don't know why that was in there. Completely out of place. Made no sense. but it took like 3 minutes to tell this story about this kid. I thought it was going somewhere. That was the one moment I was listening, because I'm like, oh, she's telling like an anecdote here, telling some kind of story. It's going to go somewhere, going to make some larger point. No, just she met a kid in Rome, needed a heart. Then she found out later he got a heart. Like, what the fuck? Holy shit, what a horrible speech. That was so bad. My God. Let me just finish these chats up and I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I am not covering this tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm doing a 3 p.m. live stream, and I will not put myself through this again. It's just I can't, sorry, not happening. Red Light Max says, breaking, RNC speaker Marianne Mendoza cut from lineup after retweeting anti-Semitic conspiracy. Is that for real? Interesting. I don't know anything about any of this. Oh yeah. Well, thank God they did, because that speech went over 10 minutes. So good thing she was pulled. Miranda Juvan says, for a palate/psyche cleanser after this nonsense, everyone should watch Randy Rainbow's parody song, Just Be Best, with Melania. Quote, just be best, put your newfound self-righteousness to the test. What? All I know is I don't want any more Melania in my life, on my screen, anywhere, for the rest of time. Courtney Crawford says, does she think she's married to Joe? Jesus Christ. Okay, are we done? Oh no, there's more. I appreciate all the support today. Thank you. Also, I should mention, while I'm reading these last several chats, rationalnational.com/join. That's the Patreon page. Let's get this crap off the screen. Here we go. Let's go here. rationalnational.com/join. Patreon page. Dylan O'Leary says, RNC has been resembling culty Scientology stuff. Yeah. Oh, for sure. I would say it's even past that. Sasha Mullen says, Kimberly Guilfoyle, encore please. To destiny. That was hilarious. That was one hilarious speech yesterday. That was just boring. So no more Melania Trump, please. All right. One last refresh here, just so I don't miss anybody, and I am good. God damn. Like, if you're still here, like the video. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon, as YouTube tends to suppress when our videos get out, and it's hard to find them and all that shit. So hit the bell icon so you know when stuff goes live or when I put a video out. And support the show on Patreon if you can, or become a member, as I've seen several members in here, and or super chats, of course, helped out. But thank you all for showing up, and until next time, be best.